Hey, hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Tobias, and as usual on this channel you will be presented with music and some Swinglish from time to time from me. And today I just wanted to make a shorter video on some of my recent pickups when it comes to music. I got some really exciting stuff here, and a couple of things that I really look forward to that I want to mention as well, but we'll save that for last. Let's kick things off with a record that I found from 1995, and it's this one on lovely vinyl. It's Shiva, Work It Out, and perhaps many of you out there are like, Shiva who? Well, this was a dance house project launched back then in I think they launched the year before, 1994, somewhere there. Anyhow, they had a brilliant singer called Louise Dean, who sadly passed away the same year this one was released, in 1995, in a car accident. Really, really sad. Very talented singer, Louise Dean, but her voice will be remembered by this single. And I actually bought this one in 1995 on CD single. It's this one. Remember these ones in really thin cardboard sleeves. This one, as you can see, got Louise here on the cover, and it had the Shiva radio mix. It also had what was called Mind Warp mix and a FOS Untouchable dub. And I listened to this so much. I really fell in love with this one when it was released. Really, really good. So I was really surprised when I found this one in second hand. And the reason I bought this one is because it has a plethora of mixes here. Morales Classic Club Mix, Red Zone Mix, West End Mix, and FOS Unlimited dub. I only had the Untouchable dub before, so I have them all. And all of them, this brilliant track, Shiva, Work It Out. If you never heard of them before, because I say them, it was actually not just Louise Dean. It was Gino, I have to read here, Pischitelli. I do apologize to my Italian friends out there, because it sounds Italian. And Paul Ross, because those were the musicians and the composers, I think, of this particular song. So that's why I call them. And of course, lovely Louise Dean as well. So yeah, if you never heard of this one before and you're a bit curious about mid-90s dance tracks, go and check this out. Lovely, powerful voice there from Louise, and what a track. Really, really good. Okay, let's move on to the next one. We'll go into 1980s now. In 1985, Falco released a new single called Vienna Calling. And of course, most of you know Falco from his big hit back in the 1980s, Rock Me Amadeus. And I was really pleased to find this one. I don't know if many people remember this one. I think it's mostly known for Rock Me Amadeus, but he had some other hits as well around Europe, and this one was one of them. Really, really good track. I think it's taken from his Falco 3 album. And previous to this, he had Genie, and was it Genie Part 2 as well, Coming Home? I think that one came before this one as well. Anyhow, Vienna Calling is really good, and this tourist version is really good as well. And as a really nice bonus on this one, you got the tourist version, of course, of Vienna Calling, but also got Der Kommissar, which he released in 1982. And then you have America, which is from the album Falco 3. So it's a really nice collection of tracks, even if it's just 3 of them. And I don't know if you noticed, but there's a sticker up here, and it does say free Vienna Calling 7 single, strictly limited edition. So it was still here, even if it's a second-hand one. It was really well kept, this copy. And voila, there it is, inside of it, Vienna Calling. And this one is nice because you do get the 86 edit/mix as well. And side 2 has got America again, so we just got it 2 times around. But it's really nice. I've never seen this before. We actually put 7-inch single inside the 12-inch, but there you go. Falco, Vienna Calling, really good one. And I also picked up something, and let's go back to the 90s now. It's not sequential at all here today. This is an electronic, I'll call it electronic music. It's Fortune 5, a really good UK band that started out as I Start Counting, a synth band from... I think they formed in 1983 or something like that. Anyhow, it was Simon Leonard and David... What was it called? David Baker. Yes, of course. And they were both in I Start Counting. And I think the story goes that closer to 1990 they started doing some new music, and they didn't feel it was in the same vein as I Start Counting, so they made up a new name and they were now called Fortune 5. And this is their debut album. It's called Blues, and it's released on Mute Records, and it's got some really, really good songs. I had Heart on the Line, which is on this one as well. I had that on a 12-inch. I bought that back in 1992 or something like that. I love that track, but I never came across this one. So when I saw this one, I was like, I haven't heard the other songs on this one, but if it's half as good as Heart on the Line, I will go for it. And I don't regret it. What an album. If you never heard of Fortune 5, check it out. I hope it's on some of the streaming services. I haven't checked. It's from 1991, by the way. Really good. And just for reference sake, I do have I Start Counting here. Letters to a Friend. Also released on Mute back in the 80s. Really, really good record. So I can recommend that one. It's not one of my pickups from this time. It's an old one. But anyhow. Okay. Let's go back to the 80s again. We'll switch back and forth now, and to a group, and I'm just going to make a really long story short here. If anyone saw or listened to my previous episodes, in one of them I did mention I had a really good friend back in Sweden who had an older sister who went over to London either to work or study or whatever, and she brought back all these records that we never heard or seen before. Anyhow, she also brought back one particular VHS cassette that she recorded in 1984, some Top of the Pops and other stuff that she saw on the telly here in the UK. And during one of the intermissions for one of the shows that she recorded, there was some advertisement for different things, soap and all of that. But there was an advertisement for a record from Shriekback. And the record was called Jam Science, and the track that they had in this advert was called Hand on My Heart, and it was stuck in my mind from there on, because I was mesmerized by these 10 seconds I heard of this song. It was something strange, new, wonderful that I heard, and I kept it in my mind all of that time. And eventually I managed to track down one of the records, and sadly it wasn't Jam Science. They were really hard to come by in Sweden for some reason, and when I eventually went to London, I was on the hunt for other records, so I forgot about Shriekback. But now, all of a sudden, in 2023, I went through one of the crates in my local record shop, and lo and behold, I found this one. This is Shriekback and the track Hand on My Heart. And just as an added bonus, it is a pre-release pressing, this one. If it doesn't really matter which pressing I actually found, but it's quite nice. It's a novelty kind of thing, right? But yeah, here it is, Hand on My Heart, and it is as good as I remember from those 10 seconds. The whole track, all 5 minutes of it, is just wonderful. And just briefly, because I looked them up, Shriekback consisted of David Allen, who actually played bass for Gang of Four back in the 80s as well, and Barry Andrews, who was in XTC. And Carl Marsh was also in this band. So I think those three were the founding members. And they had, throughout the years, because they're still doing things today, I think this year, actually, they released a new album as well, digitally. But they had so many collaborators throughout the years and throughout the albums. And one of them just caught my eye and was like, Claire Hurst. I recognize that name. She was a saxophone player, and yes, of course, she's been featured here before in one of my videos on the Bell Stars debut album. And it's this girl here in the middle with the yellow background. That is Claire Hurst. So just a bit of a trivia there for you. She was actually part of Shriekback once upon a time. And the last one that I'm going to show you today is this one, which I picked up. Mark Almond and Jackie. And said track is from his absolutely fabulous album from 1991, Tenement Symphony, which I got here on CD. When I bought this back in 1991, I was blown away. It's such a great album, and the first couple of tracks on this album is, some of them are produced by his old bandmate from Soft Cell, Dave Ball. And he was going under the moniker The Grid at this point. He was doing some more electronica dance music kind of stuff. But he went into the studio with Mark, and they teamed up and produced some really wonderful track. And the first part of this album is called The Grit. So you can see here somewhere, Grit and the Glitter, it says. And the Grit, of course, yeah, those are the first couple of tracks, and then we go into the Tenement Symphony, and that is produced by Trevor Horn, the brilliant producer behind so many different artists. Frank Goes to Hollywood, ABC, of course, and the list goes on and on. This is my favorite side of the album, and it does include said track, Jackie, of course, and it's a Jacques Brel song originally, but Mark Almond does a really good job with this one. It's high energy disco meets Jacques Brel. Absolutely brilliant. So when I picked this one up, I was really, really ecstatic. I was like, oh, I never heard the 12-inch of this one for some reason. So I went home, put it on, and it does include a 12 version of Jackie. It also has something called the Alpine dub of it, and it also includes Deep Night, a non-album track from Tenement Symphony, a 12 version of that one. But I have to say, I was really let down by this one. The Jackie tracks are remixed by Youth. And Youth, if I'm not mistaken, was either a part of Killing Joke at one point or a roadie for Killing Joke, or both. I don't really know. He was a bass player anyway. But he eventually moved on and joined the band The Orb with Alex Patterson and the gang. And I think they still collaborate in some capacity today. I'm not really sure, but that's Youth. He was the go-to name in the early 90s when it came to remixes and things like that. I think he even DJ'd as either as an after party or a warm-up act for U2 on one of their tours in the early 90s. But anyhow, he remixed this one, and I'm really, really disappointed. I can't say that I'm well versed when it comes to Youth remixes, so I don't really have any references. But this, to me, sounds like you hit start on the drum machine, and then you sampled a couple of bits from Jackie and put them in sporadically throughout the song. There's no real originality to this. No, it didn't appeal to me at all. I was really let down by this, and I'm so sorry about that, because a 12 version of Jackie, in my mind, was brilliant. It was even better than the original track, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know what I thought, but unfortunately, I was really disappointed with this one. So I don't know if I'm going to keep it in my collection or sell it to someone who actually appreciates it. So that was a bit of a letdown. I also want to mention that this absolutely fabulous album by Mark Almond, Tenement Symphony, has also been re-released just recently by Cherry Red Records. And you can get it, or at least you could a while ago, get it in a 6 CD/DVD box set. I'm not sure if it's still available or if they're going to reprint it. But what is available at this point is the 2 CD expanded edition, which has a lot of alternate takes and some extended versions and all that nice stuff. I thought I was just going to mention that, because if you're interested in picking this one up, it might be interested to at least pick up the 2 CD expanded version, because it's remastered and all that nice stuff. There's been a lot of talks in the news lately, in music news that is, about the new Beatles, the Red and Blue album being re-released, the last single as it was, Rolling Stones releasing a new album, all these big old heavy hitters are taking up all the news space, it seems. And I love it for them. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm going to show you now, is the best thing that happened in years and years, at least in my humble opinion. This is it. Surely nothing can really top this. I'm talking about a Blu-ray, actually, not a record. And this is something released by the British Film Institute, the BFI, in collaboration with the KLF. This is 23 Seconds to Eternity. And some of you out there might ask yourself, KLF who? Because you don't really know what KLF is. So I'm just going to make a really short summary of all of this. KLF was started by two guys, Bill Drummond and Jimmy Cauty, back in 1987. They made a lot of press by releasing their own records on their own label, KLF Communications, as the Jams. It stands for the Justified and Ancients of Moo. So that's it. And what's the reason about all the press? Because they lended quite a lot of famous tracks. ABBA, for example, Whitney Houston, the Beatles, actually, and incorporated those into the earlier maxi singles.
I mean, everybody's using it, but it is good.
That's the more reason for using it.
Yeah.
Got to find a bass drum beat on this record here that we can sample, then clean up.
What really propelled them to stardom was in 1988 when they released this single. It's called Doctor in the TARDIS, and this time around they were called the Time Lords. And yes, it's actually true, as you can read here. It was Ford Time Lord, the car here, that actually made this record. It's an absolute fact, an absolute truth. Believe you me. That made them a lot of money, and the year after, in 1989, they said, well, what should we do? At this point, they already pressed a couple of records that became club hits around Europe. What Time Is Love, Free I Am Eternal, for example, was two of them. But they was also talking about, is there something else we should do? How about a road movie? So it was done. They're going to do a road movie. So they approached the director, Bill Butt, and they gathered a small crew with 35mm cameras, and they started to venture out and record this road movie. They had really big plans for this one. It was supposed to be something that I think they called the inner movie or the inner story, and then they had the outer story, and then there were going to be a third parallel universe or something like that. And they were all going to merge at the end of the movie, and perhaps they will merge into the White Room, who knows. But they had grand plans about this one, and but it never really come to fruition. I think the money ran out. They tried to make another hit single at this point as well to gather some more money from it. And I think it was also going to be included on the soundtrack for this movie that they were calling The White Room. But that single, I would say it flopped. And like I said, the money ran out. They shelved everything that they filmed, never really came out of it. And some of the clips from this the White Room has been circulated throughout the years, but now finally the BFI and the KLF together have remastered what's left, or what was filmed, of this White Room, and it is included on this Blu-ray. This is actually a Blu-ray and a DVD, so it's a dual format release. You will get the same contents on both of them. But this is, I never thought it was going to happen. It is, yeah, I'm over the moon. I can't find the words, as you can see and hear. But yeah, I just got this one. It's Friday as we speak. I just got it in the post, but I had to include it here because even without watching it, I'm so excited. I will give you a proper rundown of this one, and I'm also planning to do a special on the KLF and what they were all about. And yeah, I never really mentioned the music they made. They were really innovative when it came to music. They weren't a pure house act or an electronic act per se. They mixed everything from rock to rap to electronic and even thrash metal at some point. So yeah, they a really, really interesting group that made a couple of hit singles after this movie. The White Room was shelved. They released an album actually called The White Room, and before that they had hit singles with reimagined versions of previous released records by them: What Time Is Love, 3 AM Eternal, and Lost Train to Transcendental, and of course the lovely Justified and Ancient single they released as well with Tammy Wynette on vocals. But that's a story for another day. So what's more on this one, besides what's left of the White Room, they actually had compiled a new soundtrack especially for this release, it says. So I'm really curious about listening to that one and hear what it sounds like. Also included on this one, it's The Rights of Moo from 1991, which depicts Jimmy Cauty and Bill Drummond. They are not really escorting them, but it's a bunch of journalists that's been invited to the Scottish island of Jura on the summer solstice of 1991. And yeah, it's a really interesting movie with some surreal undertones in it. And it's all being narrated by Martin Sheen. So yeah, I've seen this one several times before, but now you can watch it in high definition on this lovely Blu-ray. And also included with this one is an unreleased short film called Crash, where they actually destroy poor Time Lord. There you go. So yeah, no one's really seen this one before, I don't think. I haven't seen it in any circulations or as a bootleg or anything like that. And it's said to be set to a track from their unreleased album called The Black Room. And that was music they made together with Extreme Noise Terror, I think they were called. I think it is a UK thrash band. I might get my genres wrong here, but I think it's a thrash band. And they did release a single together with them called 3 AM Eternal as well. It's one of the versions of 3 AM Eternal. But like I said before, that's a story for another day. Let's go back to this one. So with The White Room, The Rights of Moo, and Crash, we also get all the videos as well. From Doctor in the TARDIS, we got the House Stadium trilogy, which is What Time Is Love, 3 AM Eternal, Last Train to Transcendental. You also get the Justified and Ancient with Tammy Wynette. And of course, the banger of a song and one of the interpretations of What Time Is Love, the track that was called America, What Time Is Love, with no other than Glenn Hughes of Deep Purple, and I think Black Sabbath as well, right, for a short stint. He's on vocals on that one, and it's an absolute killer of a track. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see all these remastered as well. And you'll get a lot of interviews as well. You can see some of the special features here. You have to pause the picture if you want to read it all, but there's a lot of interviews, shorter documentaries, and some trailers, and all of that good stuff. Really looking forward to watch this one and listen to it and just enjoy myself and being in Seven Heaven, of course, because it's a KLF on Blu-ray. Yeah, that concludes my pickups for this time being, and I am sure it won't be long until I show you some more pickups. And what do you think about these pickups? And most importantly, have you picked up anything recently? And if so, please comment down below in the comments. Let's get a discussion going. But yeah, that's it for me. And until next time, you take care of yourself, and adieu.